Hey, how's it going, everybody? Today I'm going to be reviewing Elvis. This is a movie I have been looking forward to, mostly because of the director Baz Luhrmann, and also, listen, I like Elvis Presley's music. I think music biopics are usually pretty good, and I just wanted to see how they did the movie. And to be honest with you, I think they did a pretty good job with this movie. One of the things that comes with having Baz Luhrmann direct your movie is you know you're going to get a lot of style, and you know that the movie's almost going to look like it's popping off the screen at you. It packs like a sort of punch to it, and that's why I thought he was the right director to make an Elvis movie. And this movie, he did a really great job with the movie itself. I have two main issues with the movie. I want to talk about those two issues I have first before I talk about the positives. The first issue I have with the movie is I feel like the second half of the movie is a little bit uneven, and it's almost like they knew that they had to end it somehow, so they kind of try to cram a lot of Elvis's life in to the point where I feel like they didn't do some parts justice the way they probably could have done it justice, and it just kind of the second half felt a little bit more uneven to me than the first half did. And my second biggest issue with this movie, and this is an issue that okay, I feel like I might be the only person out here who has this issue with this movie. Tom Hanks playing Colonel Tom Cooper. I did not like him in this movie. I thought, and it's not that Tom Hanks was a bad actor or anything in this movie. I just didn't like the way that they had him play the character. It's just this movie is trying to take itself seriously. It's a music biopic, and it does a good job. But then you have this really over the top, like slimy villain manager type role played by Tom Hanks, who he doesn't seem to really fit in the movie. And the problem I have with his character, I mean, obviously he's unlikable, but he's supposed to be unlikable. That's kind of the point of his character. But at the same time, to me, he's also annoying. And the reason that kind of goes as a negative for me in this movie is because the movie is told through Tom Hanks' character's eyes. He's the one narrating the movie. So since I find him annoying every time, not only did I see him on screen doing this, doing this like over the top type of acting, when he's narrating, I'm like, oh, dude, can you just shut up? Because I just don't care. So that's one of my negatives about this movie. And then the other one is obviously the uneven part of the second half of the movie. Other than that, I thought this movie was really solid. The first half of this movie, Baz Luhrmann really just delivers the punches. It really does feel like you're there watching Elvis go to work, and that's a credit to not only Baz Luhrmann as a director, but it's also a credit to Austin Butler, who plays Elvis in this movie. Listen, Austin Butler basically transforms into Elvis. He is definitely going to get an Academy Award nomination for this movie for Best Actor. Whether or not he wins, I don't know. We still have another 6 months of the year left to go, so we have to see what other performances come out. But he really transformed himself into Elvis. And just watching, because we all know how the story's going to end, all right? We know what happens to Elvis and stuff. So watching the rise of Elvis, it's almost heartbreaking to watch because you just know that it's all going to come crumbling down in the end. And so there was almost like a sort of anxiety sitting there watching the movie because you just, as soon as you're happy for him, you just have it in the back of your mind that this is not going to last. And since you know it's not going to last, it almost kind of it filled me with anxiety and kind of watching the movie. So Austin Butler, great job playing Elvis. Baz Luhrmann, great job directing the movie. What I do think, and why I think the second half of this movie does fall flat a little bit, and basically the halfway point in this movie is after Elvis returns from the military. Once he returns from the military, I feel like they felt like they just had to cram so much in that they lost kind of track of exactly what they were trying to do. And I feel like there's a good 40 minutes of this movie. I wouldn't even be surprised if maybe there was even more that was cut in the editing room. And so I'm interested to see if when this movie comes out to own, if there's a director's cut that has a lot more included to make it so this movie's like an over 3 hour long movie. And listen, I would watch this movie if it was over 3 hours just because I feel like a lot of that stuff that was probably cut out would probably add a lot more to the story. Because there are some parts that are supposed to be emotional that I don't feel like are as emotional as they probably could be because we don't get as much time with some of the characters that they want us to be emotional towards. And I feel like with all the footage that they filmed for this movie, I do feel like and a director's cut and the editing room, I feel like if you were to add some of the scenes back in that kind of help us get to know more of the characters better, some of those emotional scenes probably could have hit a bit more. Now, even though the second half of the movie is very uneven with me, the one thing this movie does very well is it nails the ending. It absolutely nails it. And I've said before on my channel, whenever you have certain problems with the movie, or whenever anybody has a problem with the movie, a lot of problems can be rectified if the movie has a really solid ending. And let me tell you, Elvis absolutely nails the ending. Sitting there and watching just Elvis play in Vegas and everything, and watching Austin Butler basically come to life, and you actually believe he is Elvis. Sitting there in the theater, you feel like you're sitting there in Vegas watching Elvis perform. It's unbelievable. And the way this movie ends, it ends on a powerful note. It's a sad note as well, but it's a very powerful note, and it wraps up everything together quite nicely, to the point where a lot of times, even though I do have issues with Tom Hanks' character and I do have issues with some of the pacing throughout the second half of the movie, the ending makes me forgive all those issues, to the point where this is a movie that needs to be seen in theaters, because Elvis was this larger than life person, so seeing him on the big screen, it just makes sense. And then seeing Austin Butler wearing the clothes that Elvis used to wear and stuff, and I just can't stress enough just how much Austin Butler basically just is Elvis in this movie. He is perfect for the role. I know some people have said that, oh, he doesn't really look like him. And his younger years in this movie, I mean, if you're going to go side by side, yeah, you're right, Austin Butler doesn't look exactly like Elvis. But as he ages, especially once we start to see Elvis in his 30s and his early 40s, Austin Butler looks just like Elvis. I mean, he really does in this movie. And he embodies him perfectly, from the mannerisms to the way he sings and everything like that. And at the end of the day, we go to an Elvis movie to see the story of Elvis's life. And did this movie deliver that? It did. So at the end of the day, I definitely recommend seeing this movie, especially on the big screen. Don't wait for this to come out on home video to watch. Watching this, do yourself a favor, watch this on the big screen, because I'm telling you, when you do watch this in a theater, it really does feel like you're in an audience watching Elvis perform. And anyway, if any of you guys have seen Elvis already, let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. And like always, I hope to see you back in my next review.